So I was like, I want to get married. Can you introduce me to like one of your friends, or your husband's friends? Oh. And then 3 people introduced me to someone that evening, and one of them was my husband.
Hold on, sorry.
You know, it wasn't a date, but like, remember I said he took me to the concert.
Yeah. Oh, everybody was around.
Everybody was around. And even a few other times, everybody was around. And I'm not used to that. Yeah. And I kind of liked the fact that he was close with his siblings. And I needed her to put a mirror to my face and say, girl, you know, because I was like, my husband is jealous. She's like, shut up. He's not jealous of you. Like, he helped. Like, can we remind you? Like, how we got here? Stop. Like, please shut up. That was what she said, literally.
Welcome to
Marriage Pinnacles Chats from the Peak, where God's favorites link up. My name is Dr. Lara.
And I'm Emmy.
And today we have a special guest. One thing, we did not even plan this blue. That's actually kind of crazy. Like,
we're tripleting.
We did not plan the blue. We didn't tell her any dress code, and she came in blue, and here we are. We have
all the shades.
Literally all the shades of blue. I'm loving it, actually. We have a special guest. We have Liz Osho, and she is multi-hyphenated. She is a boss. We're going to get into that. And she is a wife, and she's a mom, and she's all the things. And we are so happy to have her. We were talking offline, and it's just so organic here. And Liz is a bit of us, and we just love her. So Liz, could you please introduce yourself?
Hey, ladies. Hey. Triplets today. Thank you so much for having me on. I love everything that you guys represent. It's marriage pinnacle to the world.
Yes.
And I'm so excited for everything God is doing for this platform, for both of you individually. And I know that 2025 is going to be amazing.
Come on now.
My name is Liz. Liz Osho. I'm a wife. I'm a mom. I'm also a communication strategist. I run a firm, Somi Solutions. We have presence in Nigeria and also here in the United States. Working on
downplaying a little bit, but okay, sure. Okay.
Working on lots of different industries, lots of different verticals. I also work with an NGO called Halcyon. I'm the communications manager there for Halcyon, and we help build future. We help companies kind of accelerate into the ecosystem. Nice. So yeah, it's really for me all about impact in everything that I do. I'm very impact driven. So the solutions that I get into, anything that I get into has to have meaning.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Come on now, I love it. And so, for us, can you talk just a little bit, because again, and you talked briefly about like Somi Solutions, like that is kind of how we connected.
Yes.
But I don't think, we have viewers all over the place, right? We have viewers in America, we have viewers in the African diaspora, we have viewers all over. We got some Singapore viewers. I was just okay. But for the people maybe in Africa, they may know Somi Solutions, but it's a big deal. And so can you just tell a little bit about Somi Solutions?
Thank you. I'm like, okay, am I a big deal? Sometimes,
the imposter syndrome is real.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it is real.
And also, you've just been doing things for so long that it doesn't seem like it. But yeah, no, I mean, we set up. We're 9 years old this year. We have 13 people, and it's across Abuja. That's where we sit, and also Lagos, and of course DC. Worked with so many different clients. I mean, I like to say our biggest, of course, has been Disney, where we worked on Wakanda Forever.
Awesome.
And that was really exciting because the cast came down to Nigeria, and we were in charge of like managing that whole process.
Awesome.
But separate to that, we've worked on so many beautiful campaigns with entrepreneurs, brand positioning. So many different, some of my favorite clients, and all my clients are amazing, but I have like a soft spot for like Banke Cuckoo. I'm wearing Banke Cuckoo today. And it's just been amazing working with her for over a year now to craft her brand narrative and tell her stories, because she's fashion, but she's like impact driven fashion,
Yeah.
and it's all about sustainability with
Love
her.
that.
And so I've just really enjoyed that. I've also worked with multinationals like Mastercard, Unilever. But for me, what has always been the thing that draws me is like the impact driven stuff.
Yes.
So even with Unilever, my standout has been like when we fed, people through their Knorr brand.
Okay,
During
nice.
COVID, where people were starving, guys, and so me going to Ali Mosho, like the local government, standing in the queues with them, kind of understanding the pains and the needs of the community, it will stick in my head forever that I
Absolutely.
was part of that. So yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, and go ahead, ma'am.
I want to say, because I was literally just talking to my friend yesterday about work that is fulfilling and the difference in doing work that is fulfilling versus just kind of clocking in and getting a check. I'm like, after a while, at least for me, I'm getting to that phase of my life. And Marriage Pinnacle is definitely helping me see that I'm getting to the point where it's like the 9 to 5 that is just clocking in, clocking out. It's like almost like draining my life source. Because when I'm doing this, it's like, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm like feeling filled up. And then I go to do that and it's like, So I love that you've now created your career and your business.
Absolutely.
Around, like, if it's not filling me up, I'm not doing it.
That is it. That is it. And I thank God actually for the opportunity, because I have had 9 to 5s where I've like, why am I waking up to do this? So it's been intentional also saying, God, like, allow me to work, make money, but it doesn't feel like work. And that's the beauty.
So that's really been like, that's my thing. That's my prayer for 2025.
Absolutely.
Amen. It's already done.
Amen. And maybe you just kind of took the words out of my mouth. I feel like it's so nice to bring people on our platform that not just because, that sounds good or they'll be good, it's the story behind it and the impact, I think, is so important. And I think that, with Marriage Pinnacle, that's exactly what we started off to do. Before we actually thought of this as a business, it was more so like, okay, in what way can Marriage Pinnacle help people in some way, impact people in some way, And I always tease Memmy, like, she was like, I'll do this for free if I could.
That's my thing.
I'll do this, and I think
that make money now.
Yeah, we do. And I was like, I love the impact. I am for that, because obviously at the end of the day,
but it costs us money.
It costs us money
like
to do that.
Money.
So we should be able to at least,
break even.
At least. And now we're at the point where it's like, okay, we're not breaking, we're getting something. But but like, again, I do think it's still the heart behind it, right? It's like, I want to do something meaningful and impactful. I want it to not just be about the check. It's like, okay, what's the work behind it? What is the impact that we're leaving, or the legacy that we're leaving?
And like, speaking to your calling, like, God put something in every single person. And it's like the journey and being able to find that, like, find what that is. And, God doesn't want us to be broke. So monetize it, right?
Of
course. Like, make a living, feed your family off of it. But
words are marble. God does not want us to be broke.
He does not. He does not. I hear a little twang. In your accent.
Yeah. So I lived in England for 21 years. I was born in Nigeria, and then I moved to England. And my accent is all over the place, really. Because
it's not like a.
It's not. It's got all the flavors. You get Niger in there, but then of course I can't remove the English, especially because I went to boarding school in England for so many years, and then I've been living here for like 4 years, and my husband's American.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's Nigerian, but like Nigerian American.
Oh, he's like us.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So he was born in Sulphur Spring, Texas.
Oh, he's from Texas.
Texas boy.
Texas boy.
And then moved here into Maryland, like when he was 7. So. Yeah, so he is, you can imagine his twang.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
for sure. That. I love that. So we have a little bit of, so typically, like, we have a little icebreaker. And so we'll ask a question from our conversation cards. We didn't talk about our platform at all. So I'm going to do that really, really quick. So if you're still watching, which we hope you are, this is Marriage Pinnacle, and this is Chats from the Peak, where we talk about love, relationships, marriage, and everything in between. And we do it from a clinical lens, a cultural lens, and a little bit of life experience. And so we are here to just help bring healthy marriages to the forefront and really let people know that marriage isn't dead. And so, we just went into a little intro with Liz because she's our guest and we're just so excited to have her here. But we did want to have like a little bit of icebreakers. And one of the things that we typically do on our show is that whenever guests come, we will talk about we'll use our marriage conversation cards as a way to kind of formulate question and really stimulate people to think about their marriages, even if their partner's not here, right? So we have a question for you, Liz, that we want to ask before we get into the this or that. So I'm going to give you this.
Okay.
You can read that out loud.
What did you learn about love from your parents? Oh my gosh. Wow. This is so deep and sensitive. My parents got divorced when I was 3. So a lot to unpack there. You guys know I wrote a book. Did you know I wrote a book?
I was going to ask you about
yeah.
that. I was gonna ask you about it.
And I'm just recalling because obviously I talk about this. So let me put it this way. I learned quite a bit because of the fact that obviously there's a blended family in here somewhere.
Right.
And it's a unique circumstance. No divorce is the same.
Which is true.
No marriage is the same.
Yeah.
My parents loved each other very much, but circumstances meant that they couldn't be together. My father had mental health issues.
Okay.
But one thing that I learned, and so it's interesting because it's not my parents together, but it's still my parents,
Absolutely.
is that love never dies, because my mom loved him till he died. He's my father's passed, unfortunately. And, she helped me all through the years just understand that nothing he was doing was through free will. And I think that the love that she had for him allowed her to be able to be sensitive in that point of view. So I have never heard her say he was a horrible man. Even when I have, because obviously I'm a millennial, and I'm from a different time, and I'm like saying, yeah, but regardless, and I'm trying to point blame, or even put blame, or like, because sometimes as human beings, when you can find a culprit, it helps ease.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When you say, that
absolutely.
you're the reason.
Yeah, this is the reason why this is, yes, absolutely.
But she would say, no, like you have to give him grace and you have to give him, and so I learned that from my mom, and I was able to use it in my own marriage. And then separate to that, my mom did remarry. Interestingly enough, she actually married the same year that I married. So
wow. 2 weddings.
However, it's a little complicated because she had already had my brother with the person that she married.
Okay.
And my brother is like 30. So they married 20 years after they had a child together.
Okay.
So I also, and he's my dad, because I've known him since when I was young, very young, and I learned from him that for them, that love will always find each other.
Yeah.
Because guys, it took 20 years, but they remarried, they're together.
Nice.
And so, lots of lessons.
I love that. And that's so crazy because we asked that question. It could go any way. I was not expecting that. No, I was not expecting that. Wow.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing that. Come on now. And I'm sure she could have kept talking. So shameful plug. I'm not even gonna say shameless. I'm a shameful plug. Yes. That is amazing. You want to get into this or that?
Yes. So that was, a little heavy. Yeah. So we're gonna kind of lighten it up.
Lighten it up a little bit.
We're gonna lighten it up a little bit with our this or that game. So we're gonna give you 2 options and you choose which one is you prefer.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this or that, Lagos or DMV?
Oh my God, guys.
And it's fresh because you just came back.
Yeah. Be honest.
Lagos.
Keep it real. And why?
Guys, it just comes with the vibes. It just comes with the vibes. Like DMV is okay, but
cool or whatever.
But guys, it's just that the vibes also come with so much help.
Yes.
Right? So
there's a thing called house help.
Yes.
There's a thing called driver.
Yes.
Yes. Cook. Yeah.
There's a release.
There's a release.
There's a release.
You can't just be free.
You can be free. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
you own your life again.
Like even if you're in traffic, you're not the one driving.
You're not. Yeah.
I hope people
it has
always
its issues, security, and
there's
stuff.
definitely some stuff.
But guys, honestly, I would choose Lagos over and over again.
Okay.
I love that. It's good to know. Me too.
You?
I would also choose
no
Lagos.
DMV.
I'm a
You're a DMV girl.
yeah. I cannot get over the traffic, y'all. I can't.
I love Lagos because people always talk about when you go to Lagos, your skin glows differently.
Yeah, it does glow. Your skin
It
does glow.
glows,
The sun
and
is
it's
different.
because there's no stress.
Yeah,
well, there's a
There
lot of
is
stress, but you know, you get to relax.
I feel like you're saying that because you're on vacation.
No,
But, like
yeah, of course.
living
As
there.
someone who lived
Though
there
you
for
did live
9
there, though,
years,
yeah.
guys, just the fact that I have a cook, like, yeah.
Every problem is out the door. I feel like in Lagos you can kind of outsource your mini problems so you can deal with the other
The
problems.
big
Yeah.
problems.
When you have to fight with the dispatcher.
Yeah.
You know?
No, these dispatchers, these tailors. If you talk about people that want to stress your life, dispatchers.
You have enough energy to deal with the rest of the
Honestly,
stuff.
honestly.
Because, wow.
Fair.
Okay, so you do have a book. So which one do you prefer, being a reader or author?
Interesting. I read a lot.
Yeah.
So not necessarily books, but I'm constantly consuming
Consuming
information. Yeah.
Good.
I think knowledge is power. And I don't ever like to be like the one that knows the most.
Yeah.
Right.
And I can't know everything.
Yeah.
So I love to read and consume. Yeah.
Well, that's a great answer, actually.
I really like to.
And so the next question is jollof rice or Eon?
Jollof. Yeah. I feel like, Eon's just going to send you to sleep. But
Low key.
it's just gonna send you to sleep. And the thing is, I don't want to just be sleeping anyhow.
it's heavy.
I want to eat jollof and taste the and feel good, and afterwards burst into dance because I'm a high energy person. Yeah, why am I going to bed? No, but the thing is, like, Eon will just slow you down.
Yeah,
and just
heavy.
feel heavy.
Yeah.
Like a comfort, what they would call comfort.
Yes.
Comfort meal.
Yes,
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Eon it's our like fufu
Yeah.
or we call it swallow.
Yeah.
So the stuff that you see in the TikToks that people are taking little pieces of and then
Yeah.
dipping in a little sauce.
Another the English word for it is pounded yam.
Pounded jam,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. Good. That was good there.
And so our last one is So Me Solutions Africa or So Me Solutions US?
Well, Halcyon, in case my Halcyon people.
Oh, no,
are watching.
Halcyon.
Yeah.
Halcyon, actually. That's true.
Halcyon. But guys, everything, you can't make me choose. We're all under one umbrella.
I know that's right.
Oh, one
See,
family.
look, one thing I will say is that I love Africa. I will always be an African girl, but the Western world gives you the opportunity to scale because things work.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah.
It opens up the door.
So, we are at this point in the DMV.
Yeah.
We're loving being in the DMV because of what it's going to do and even help and bring people back
yeah.
home. The knowledge transfer.
Yes. That's
So
awesome.
it has to be like So Me USA
Yeah.
Right.
because everybody will benefit.
Yeah, this
Yes.
is like the door to like globalization.
That is it.
I love that.
Oh, that's right.
Come on. She said she's taking over.
Yeah.
I ain't mad. That's
One
good.
day at
So we know a little bit about Somi and some of the brands that you work with now that you're Halcyon.
Yeah.
As well. But obviously this is a marriage brand. And I want you to, if you could incorporate the book just a bit as well.
sure.
But can you tell us about your love story? Like, how did you meet your man?
Oh my God.
Like,
Yeah.
it's my favorite story.
I love
I love a
it
good
so
love story.
much because it always inspires. I have so many friends who are also now my age, 40, and like, they're not married. And I just want to encourage anyone watching this that it can happen at any time.
Absolutely.
But one of my mottos is speak your truth. And I find that sometimes people are like secretly wanting to be married, but they just don't want to say it. And they're like, I'm happy single. If you're not happy single, say it. Just be truthful.
Yeah,
Because
be
actually,
honest.
God as well is going to give you what you are saying you want. Remember the power of the tongue?
Absolutely.
And so that kind of comes into my story where I was actually hosting a baby shower for my friend. So quick backstory. My friend was already married, meaning they went to Texas and did it in the courthouse. And so her parents were like, you have to do it properly. I don't know about this courthouse thing.
What is the courthouse?
We have to come and ask for her hand in marriage. And so they were already married, living together, had 2 kids, but the kids were like 5 and 2.
Wow.
The parents were like, you still have to
Do it the right way.
So I hosted her baby shower. Her bridal shower.
Bridal shower.
But remember, they're already married and live together. So do you remember, in bridal showers, there's a part where you advise the bride?
Yes.
And what do you advise someone who knew more
already-
who knew more than us?
Been there, done that.
So we decided to just go around and say a comment. So people started saying things like, oh, the weaves you sell, it's too expensive. Bring it down. Like random things. Can it be more affordable?
Oh, wow.
Somebody else was like, can you take me to parties. You're always partying and I don't get to go. And then when it was my turn, I'm like, oh, we're all saying what we want. And your husband's friends. And then 3 people introduced me to someone that evening. And one of them was my husband.
Hold on, sorry.
You are...
Guys, it sounds like a movie, doesn't it?
Mouths don't get fed.
I literally, before I left, someone was like, Liz, and you're very pretty. Oh. I have someone. He's in Abu Dhabi. He's in oil and gas. I was like, give him my number. Let's chat. Then somebody else was like, Liz, sorry, I also have someone. His name is Ike. He's here in Lekki. Even has a ring. Then I feel like the person Adana, she's from the DMV. Adana just, I think, didn't want to be left out. She was like, I have someone as well. Me too. Honestly. And his name's Tosin. He lives in America, but I think he wants to move to Nigeria. I was like, give him my number. Let's chat. I was even going on a date that evening, but I was like, look, I'm not married. Before I left the party, my husband had sent me a message. Like before I left, I was still doing hosting duties. And I'm like, hey, you should slow down. Like
closed mouths don't get fed. What?
Within 3 weeks of that chat, he had said that he wanted to marry me. By the next year, it wasn't even a year, we were married.
Wait.
That's my story. And it's 10 years this year.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now. Yes.
Shout out to you, Liz. You a baddie for that. You are a baddie for
Literally,
that.
guys, by the next day, he's like, I'm going to be in Nigeria in 2 weeks. Do you want to come to a Olamide concert with me? And like, before he left the trip, he was like, I would like to marry you. It all was like, it was just fast.
See, even the fastness, that's fine, sure. But to me, and I will always go back to this, when a man knows and he's intentional.
Agreed.
It just, acceleration don't make sense sometimes.
That is it.
It don't make sense sometimes.
And for me, I want to even go back to the initial point. Like that boldness for you to say that.
In front of 20-something women, by the way.
Because some people will find that like to be embarrassing. Like,
embarrassing,
right? Like they would be like, I'm not about to be out here begging. No. But 3, back to back.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. I went on a date with the Abu Dhabi guy because he came as well. Like literally. And then I went on a date with my husband and I got to choose. But where did that all stem from? Me saying,
opening your mouth.
Yeah. Opening,
like
ladies,
mouths don't get fed.
If there's not even one nugget you take from today's episode, open your mouth.
Yes. Say what you want.
Say what you want.
Yes.
Say it.
Yes. To the right people.
To the right people.
Yes.
And first of all, God hears it. Like one thing my pastor always says, your words shape your world. Like if you want something, you have to say it out loud.
Absolutely.
And that's also on the flip side too, right? Like you're cursing yourself and saying, I'm never going to get married. All the guys
marriage isn't for me.
Or even like we joke and we say the dating pool has piss in it. That's still negative. Yeah. That's your experience. It's still... What did you say? Like your words create your world.
Your words
I actually
shape
really
your
like
world.
that.
Yeah.
T-shirt.
Your world. T-shirt.
Yeah.
PD, I'm stealing it. But yeah, literally. So I just feel like, that is such a gem.
That is so good.
Such a gem.
My true story. It's like
it's real life.
It's real life.
That is awesome. Wow.
Thank you.
So can we get into toasting just a little bit?
Sure.
So what made him stand out over oil and gas? Over you being in Lekki and then having to move to America. You know what I mean? Like, what made him stand out?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, no offense, oil and gas, but...
We're going to call him that. Oil and gas.
He was like, do you want to go to like Formula One and send me your like data page, your passport data page? And I just found it all too forceful. It was like, we have like, can we just chill? I'm not that kind of girl. I'm not looking for... I've traveled. I'm not looking for a free trip.
That's not impressive. That's not what's impressive.
And I remember he had come from Abu Dhabi and he had borrowed my friend that was getting married's husband's car, and we got into the car and he was complaining it wasn't push to start. All those things. Yeah, he was like, I'm used to push. My car is 2012. I think it was 2012 or 2013 at that time. He was just showing off.
Showboat.
So,
oh my God, that's insane.
Me another girl.
Yeah.
I'm not that girl.
It was like a turnoff.
Yeah, it was a turnoff for me. Yeah. And so what did attract me about Tosin was family values. He was a very family-oriented person. By the way, our first date was with his family, which was a lot. It wasn't a date, but like, remember I said he took me to the concert.
Yeah.
Oh,
everybody was around.
Everybody was around.
Okay.
And even a few other times, everybody was around. And I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
And I kind of liked the fact that he was close with his siblings. Maybe not afterwards, but during that time, it was endearing.
I love this.
I like that. And he was the opposite of me, guys. I kind of like the balance, you know? I can be quite impulsive. He is not an impulsive person. He's very calculated. He's very calm. You know, he thinks things. So he's the sort of person that will not quite, I'm ready to give you an answer. I'm literally working on myself now where if, you know, Lara maybe says something, just process before you reply.
Yeah.
That's how he is. And it's even rubbing off on me 10 years later.
It does.
You know, but I saw a lot of the qualities that I was trying to improve in myself in him.
I love that. What does he do, by the way?
He's in construction.
Okay.
So
Because our husbands, I feel like our husbands are not opposite, but I feel like that's very similar to me. I feel like Memi's probably the closest to her husband, and like in terms of like their personalities. But my husband's complete opposite of me.
But then it complements.
It does.
It complements.
It complements. Yeah,
it complements. And I think that's from the John. I was like, okay, you know what? All my craze, this guy is gonna help me balance.
He's gonna help me
balance it out.
It's gonna level out a little bit. It's gonna level out.
You need that. You really do need that.
I love that.
Yeah.
You need that
So
balance
good.
for sure.
And so, what do you feel like? What role? So, we said that you're like multi-hyphenated, right? There's so many things that you do, so many hats that you wear, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you feel like your marriage and your relationship plays a role in your business?
Interesting. So my husband encouraged me to start Somi. I wasn't when I met. Yeah. So when I met him, I worked. I had a 9 to 5. I worked in a magazine. And he actually was like, I think you could do this. He registered my business. He's a director in my business. And really supported me when we started out, because I started out, guys, in our living room, you know? And so a lot of sacrifices. In fact, when I got my first staff, he would be in the house when, like, he probably getting ready for work when the first staff has arrived for work, because my office is downstairs. So really encouraging with my business. I don't think this was your question, but I will segue. It
definitely ties into it, yeah.
I will segue into saying that I think that along the lines, it was hard for me to then kind of appreciate where he stood, and lines started blurring. I would also say that I was so desperate for Somi to be a success that I think that at some point I also didn't appreciate that this person needs to still be carried in a pedestal. Somi became probably more important than my marriage at some point.
Let's talk about that.
It happened. It's a big thing with like entrepreneurship, especially because when you first, I wasn't even a mum there, but Somi got a lot of success very quickly, and it got into my head, you know, and not in a bad way,
but it makes you grind more. We get it,
which means what did you see? Like how did it impact? Like, because I know you're talking about it became more important, but did it feel like neglect? Like,
so it felt like nothing. So it's a lot to unpack, but you're a therapist, so you'll understand. Oh, you're a therapist. Sorry. What it is that, because I also was looking, remember I had infertility, I replaced everything with this Somi. That was my success.
Okay.
So of course it's going to impact your marriage because everything that, when you're not good at, or when you are struggling in one area, you will overcompensate
in that. Oh, yeah.
Because this is what you have to say you're a success.
Yes.
So
let's shove onto the side and let's focus on here.
That's it. Wow. And so if I want to say, how did it play business and my marriage? That was the big challenge, because I just couldn't even put nothing else mattered. This was my identity, and this was what I was using to comfort myself at night.
Let me tell you something. You just said the word identity, and I think that was something that like last year I really had to I had to be stripped of like things that were important to me, like my title and my career, and in order to say, okay, what does God want for you? And like, what does, outside of all of the other things, outside of your business and outside of all these things, who are you?
Yeah.
And why are those things important? And how are those things bringing me glory? So I think that's just, I can imagine that being very difficult.
It was.
Especially when you're doing so well.
Yeah.
And people see that.
Yeah.
And
you mask everything else, but you're sad because you want all these other things to work. But you're like, look, it's okay if I don't have the marriage, I have this. And so you don't even work on the marriage.
Yeah.
It
moves to the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, you're just like, I just want this, thing to fulfill me and to fill me up. But it's...
So where do you feel you are now in terms of like the balance?
Yeah. I mean, how did you, and what do you feel like took you to that place?
Yeah.
360.
So one thing I knew that I wanted to give this message out, by the way, when I was coming on this podcast, is that we all need somebody. So you need a community, or you need people that have walked the walk. And even if they haven't walked the walk, that are walking the walk. And, God bless you guys for even having this, because whoever's watching this right now, there's a message. There's a message here. It doesn't have to be this segment, but in this episode, there will be some gems that you've taken out of it. And one of the things I want to say is that you need a mentor. And the mentor doesn't have to be the same mentor for every single aspect of your life. Absolutely. In fact, I try to have different mentors for every area. My friends also have different functions in my life.
Absolutely.
And so my mentor really helped me. Her name is Bala Balogun. God bless her soul. And I love her marriage. She's in the same industry as me. We're both in comms. And I needed her to put a mirror to my face and say, girl, because I was like, my husband is jealous. She's like, shut up. He's not jealous of you. Like, he helped. Like, can we remind you? Like, please shut up. That was what she said, literally. Like, he is not jealous of you. This is what I see. This is what I see. And just put a mirror to my face. Because sometimes, let's be careful of the story we're telling ourselves. Exactly. Because this was a story that I was telling myself.
And the story you believe.
Yes. And the truth is, no, this guy just wanted a marriage and for you to not be married to your work, and and it's so funny because he's so calm, I can be a bit of a bully. I'm we all I can be, not anymore. I've changed though. I've changed for the better. God sees me. But like, I felt like he was just trying to like keep the peace. And so even at the beginning of the business, he would come to every single thing I had to offer. I was an influencer. He would come to nobody else's husband was there, but like, he wants to please me, right? So he would be like, I was just using this guy, like, just like, whatever I want you to do kind of thing, I'm sorry, guys, I have a cold. Okay. So I think that what eventually happened was being given that mirror, but also kudos to me to look at it and say, okay, oops.
Yeah, right.
What we call it?
Self-awareness.
Self-awareness. Because some people live in denial till they die. I will never, ever, ever, actually be accountable. And so I have to tap myself on the back and say, well done, Liz. Well done. Thank you for being accountable. And the thing, my mentor will always say is, I talk to so many people, not everyone listens. I love that you listen. I love that you take account. I love your self-awareness, and so I was like, oh, oops, this is what I've been doing. And I just started working on myself, guys. There's this Yoruba saying about Toba Bie Watuture Bi, which basically means they give birth to all of us and all our circumstances are different. Whatever has happened to you has happened. There's nothing you can do about it, but you can actually reborn yourself. You can actually choose a different direction. You can actually say, you know what, the old way isn't working. Let me seek out a new path and a new direction. And that's what I did. And I was like, look, I can't say my parents were divorced. That's why I'm like this. I can't say, I can't say, these are not excuses.
Those excuses people use. Yeah.
So I was like, look, let me find a way to direction. So I just slowly started working on it. I would say, guys, it literally took like my husband leaving. My husband left.
Oh, we ain't talk about that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't leave the marriage. Left Nigeria.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it was about to be juicy. No, no, he left Nigeria. So Nigeria wasn't working for him, and then coupled with this mess of everything I'm explaining to you, he was just like, you know what, I'm going to go back to Maryland.
Yeah.
And then like he said he would go for 3 months and then 6 months. And then, so I had to, and I did not want to move here. I did not want to, like, Nigeria is my place.
Yeah,
the business was buzzing. My identity was tied to that buzz, and also the recognition and also the popularity and just the society.
Yeah.
So I had to like be like, you know what? Okay, time to choose the marriage or Somi.
Woo!
Because Somi is the only reason. I mean, my mom doesn't even live in Nigeria. So, my family are in London. My husband is in America. My husband is asking me to come to America, but I have Somi. So I made the decision that my marriage was more important than Somi, you know, and that this was a good man.
It's a good man,
This is a
Savannah.
good man. This is a
I'm
good
actually,
man.
I don't even know what to say because there's so many things just come into my head and
Tell me.
Really.
so many, and like what you just said, it's like I feel like being an ambitious woman is something that is hard to couple with a marriage.
Yeah.
It is.
Right? Because I feel like when you're an ambitious man, you can kind of go and just carry everybody along with you, right? But when you're an ambitious woman, you're faced with those kind of decisions.
That is it.
Tough decisions.
You're faced with those kind of choices, like, do I choose my marriage or this? Like,
do I choose kids? Do I have kids right now? Things are going so fast and so good. Do I do kids
guys,
now?
at some point, I was like, okay, well, maybe I could just get a donor. I don't even really need this. Like, I could just leave the marriage. Like, just focus. You're a big boss. You know, and this devil will tell you lies.
Yeah. But what I love is that it just shows how good God is to us and how much God loves us. Because God did not put Somi in your heart for no reason. He put it in your heart so that you can do your business.
Absolutely.
And keep your marriage. So the fact that you were able to now come to America and still find ways to make Somi even bigger.
Yeah.
Guys,
that is a testimony.
The year that I came to America was 2020. 2021, I got pregnant. Meaning finally God was like, okay, you are now with your husband.
Now you're focused here.
Now
that's your priority.
2022, we had our best financial year. And I remember when I was leaving, my friends were like, don't let anybody know you are leaving Nigeria. Your company is going to crash. I literally went on to have the best financial year. That was when Disney came, you know? Wow. So that we bought a house, like literally the money was so plentiful.
Man.
So I sat down and said, God, you know, and there I was thinking my destiny was tied to Nigeria, you know? So yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I always say, like, you think about it, like God sits high and looks low. So he has a different view than what we see. Like,
he knows the ending.
He knows the ending.
He does.
Like, we're just thinking about like, okay, but this makes sense. Like, Somi here, I do this, da-da-da. Like, it just makes sense. And God is like, I'm seeing a bigger picture.
Absolutely.
You do this, you make this move, and all of this is just
that is it.
Obedience.
I literally saw everything just fall into place.
Wow. And kudos to Tosin, right? Like we always, you know, we are blessed. Again, we understanding. We're not saying this jokingly. We do understand that like not everybody's situation is different. Not everybody's situation is the same. And you know, some people are struggling with their husbands and things like that. You know, but I do think it's such a testament, right? Because a different type of man. Oh, you want to stay? Go ahead and stay. Or I'm supporting you. You don't appreciate it. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like a different type of man, your marriage could have went a different way.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Guys, honestly, Tosin's not perfect. He's a really good man. So I'm not even going to, you know, bore us with all the little details. And some stuff is sensitive.
Yeah,
but what it is that we both wanted this marriage ultimately.
We say all the time.
We both wanted this marriage.
All the time.
Both people are. If you're both locked in, if you're both like
committed,
no matter what, committed, like that real commitment. I feel like that is what I notice is just not there.
Yeah,
when
a lot of
people
times.
are going through and like ready to leave.
One person's checked out.
One person's checked out.
Checked out already.
But if you have both people ready to fight, there's
and work because it's work
and it's work.
It's work, and there's literally nothing you cannot overcome.
That's it. That is it. That is
it. I used to say to patients all the time, like, if you're saying you're going to give 125 and you're giving 125, there's no way that you guys are not going to do something and get back on the same page. It's
absolutely. I mean, ours was crazy, guys, because don't forget that, you know, all through this story, we're doing IVF.
Literally, that's literally our segue.
Talk about that.
We were
like, when did you
start IVF? So what was that process like?
So I got married at 30, my trad, and then my white wedding at 31, you know, and so I think we found out that I had some issues at 33. It took that long. We were trying for like 2-3 years.
Okay.
And so once we knew that we had this issue, we were told how much it was going to be, and it was quite a lot of money.
IVF is not cheap.
You know, even in Nigeria, in Naira, it was a lot of money. Yeah. And so my husband was like, you know, look, let's try to not ask people for money and get into crazy debt. Let's save up. And so it took until I was 35 before we started doing IVF. But guys, so another learning or lesson for people is we're born with a lifetime supply of eggs, right? So as women, let's not say or pretend that there's not a biological clock.
Yeah,
there is, you know, and at 30, that's when it starts declining. And at 35, which was when I now was ready for IVF, it really declined. And so that led us into this journey. And guys, financially, it was just such a drain. And I say, like, we would have had so many houses. I would have won so many designers if my money did not go on this IVF, you know. So we would just, we did it 5 times before we had Elijah. And so it's emotionally draining. It's financially draining. It's spiritually, like, exhausting. You know, Tosin is flying up and down as well because he's a part of it. Each time we do this, he has to come and give, like, his sample. You know, and it's disruptive, and you don't have, like, this is it's like Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
you don't even have
over.
You can't make any plan apart from when this thing gets sorted, because this thing has, you know, this was a big part of our union. We wanted to be parents.
So how did you manage your emotions during that time, like the constant disappointment and, like, the fear of, like, is it going to work this time?
And can you clarify, you guys were not living together this time, or you were?
So we were. Okay. The only time that he moved back was just before COVID, 2019.
Okay.
2019.
Okay, so you guys were together.
So, yeah, we were together for some of them. Maybe 1 or 2 rounds he was here, but, like, we did it 5 times. So there was a lot of rounds. So I would say that I used Somi to mask. That's another time where Somi, you know, came in and nobody online would have known I was going through this. I was posting as normal. You know, I would literally have been given bad news by the doctors, but I would be like, hey guys, oh yeah, we're rocking, you know, because you want some normalcy as well. And I didn't want to fall into depression. And funny enough, it was not until I actually had a proper breakdown and say, oh my God, I'm just sad that some resolutions started coming and I could be real and normal about it, because actually, you know, it's not normal to pretend everything is okay when it isn't.
That's heavy,
you know, and it's a society thing as well, where,
cultural,
you know,
thing even.
We don't talk about it. Nobody says they have doing IVF. Nobody, you know, the whole taboo, you know. So I didn't cope well for a long time, but I had friends. I had my mentor, and I had a few select friends, especially my son's godmother, Tade, who had also been on a similar journey and is now one of my best friends. And we got close because of this. And she really held my hand, you know, and like I say, no man is an island. And, you know, I don't even understand when people say I don't do friends. You don't have to be friends with everyone, but you need friends. You need to have people that you trust, because you can't. So important. And so, yeah, I think with the help of my friends, you know, the ones that I held dear, I was able to work through this. And we're here today, you know.
How old is Elijah now?
He's going to be 3. Wow. He's going to be 3 in May. Yeah, I don't even know where the time's gone. So cute. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
How did he like Nigeria?
You know, he time? Like, no, he goes, this is his 4th time.
Oh, okay. Jesus. Naija boy.
Yes, already. Proper Naija boy. Wow.
He loves it.
Wow. So even just going just a little bit deeper, right? So I know you said it was like the taboo part about it, right? And you having to kind of mask, right? But as a Nigerian woman, right? So can you talk a little bit about just, I guess, how different it was having to kind of go through this journey, and then also being, like, visible, right? So you're somebody who people were seeing, and, like, you know, I don't know, were you getting the questions like, where's your children? Do you know what I mean?
All
like,
the time.
what, how did you
Guys,
kind of
it was horrendous. I'm not going to lie. Like, they're triggers, you know, they're triggers where somebody's even forgotten that you don't have a child, and they're saying, you know, come with the children. Oh yeah, no, Liz, you can just come. You know, your Auntie Liz. Or, I remember the most horrendous, and I talk about it in the book. Shameless plug.
Please, unplug.
But I should have.
We'll put it in the bio.
Somebody asked me, "Are you sure you haven't, like, done plenty of abortions in the past, or why is it that you can't have a baby?" You know, people talk anyhow in Nigeria.
They do, reckless.
You know, and I was just, like, basically blaming me, shaming me, you know, and saying, you know, this must be by something I've done.
That you've done.
You know, and another thing is, you know, nobody ever assumes or even thinks remotely could be also the
man's fault. Never.
So it's never, Liz, go and check yourself, you know. You hear it all. I completely believe that there's so many different ways to be a mother.
Absolutely.
So, you know, there's surrogacy, there's adoption, but we were not there yet.
Right.
We wanted to try.
Right.
But I was also getting people saying, but why can't you just go and adopt? Why can't you just go and adopt? And I'm like, this is insensitive as well, because you just, how about you ask me, so where are you? What do you guys
need? Like, how are you
from
feeling?
a place of love. And I feel like that's something people struggle with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Nigerians, are notorious for it, but I feel like people in general, like, there's this lack of like love and care and the way we speak to empathy that we speak to each other. We just assume like in their minds they're helping or they're letting you know that they care, but it's like the way you talk, the way you say things, you don't know what is striking.
Yeah.
Like I don't ask people about when they get married. I do not ask about when did the baby come in. And I used to back in the day, but as I got older and I realized that
there's so many different circumstances.
Some people don't even want kids and they're okay with it. Some people are trying it and they can't. Some people have other things going on and they're not ready yet. So it's like, just understand, like being sensitive.
That's
like
it.
if the person brings it up to me, let's have a
we can
conversation.
talk about
I'll be there to support you, whatever you need. But to just go to someone, your wedding was last year. Like, what is your business?
And not even that though, but you don't think I know that?
Yeah.
The other thing is, IVF will make you look pregnant, right? So you would then also be getting, because, they're pumping you with hormones to get you prepped for pregnancy. So it kind of mimics pregnancy. So I would also have comments like, I can see the bump, and I'm like, oh my God, if only there was a bump trigger.
So triggering. That is so triggering.
I even had one in this December, like I can see the bump and I'm like, oh God, like there was no bump yet, and I'm like, oh gosh, but I feel like there should be etiquette.
There needs to be training. There needs to be training.
Maybe we need to do an episode on that.
And if you don't even know if you don't know that subject matter, ask.
Yeah.
How about you just lead with, educate me, tell me about it. So what do you think I need to know? What should I know? So how can I support you is a great answer.
Yeah. How can I support you?
How can I support you? Rather than I think you should go and adopt. Try, how can I support you? What are you guys leaning towards?
Yeah.
What seems good? What are you and your husband going to do? Stuff like that is probably a better way. Yeah. But please do an etiquette on lots of different lots of different topics.
As you were talking, it just took me back to like, and I said this on the podcast before, I believe, like, I remember after having a miscarriage, going back to work.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. One of the ladies at the job that I was working with at the time, she's like, oh, I see that we're pregnant. Like, and it just was so triggering because I'm just like, actually, I'm not.
Let's not comment on that.
Let's not comment on it. It's like, you see weight, sure, but it's like, actually, I'm not, and it just took me back to that because I'm just like, people really don't know.
Yeah, they don't.
Yeah, that's a shame. And we're not trying to, bring the mood down but I think these are real things that we do need to discuss.
We're grown women, right?
Like, and I think that, this is somebody's lived experience, and I'm sure somebody can relate to this. So it's like, we're trying to just express the real.
That is it. That is it. We're trying to say these things happened.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. Right. I can overcome it. So you can overcome it, and I think it's actually a powerful story because it shows that there's nothing that, God cannot help you get through,
That's right.
Right.
And I think that's like a nice segue. So like having Elijah later, by society standards later, still building a brand, rebuilding a brand, what would you say to somebody who feels like it's too late for me? And that could be in marriage, that could be in business, that could be in like whatever aspect, but they feel like it's too late for me. Like, I'm 40 already, I'm 50, I'm 30. Because people think that like, if I don't get it right, I don't strike with the iron's hot, it's too late for me. So what would you say to somebody?
You know what, guys? I've come to even realize that I'm not sure what I would have done with Elijah had he come earlier. I wasn't ready, And so what consoles me is that God's timing is perfect. And it's not even a cliche. It is really the truth, where he does not give you anything that you can't overcome. He does not give you anything too late. There's nothing like too late when it's, God ordained and God's timing. Yeah. And I was not prepared. Everything has just happened in the most precise God ordained time. And I think that if we hold on to that, then there's nothing like it's too late. There's a saying that I really love: whenever you wake up is your morning.
Love that.
And I really hold on to that. And I think that that is true for every single thing. Whenever you wake up is your morning. And so I don't use other people's clock to time myself. You know, what is good for you at that time is good for you at that time, because there's so many circumstances surrounding that. My marriage could not have even survived a child before it came, you know? And so I'm so happy that Elijah came when I was 38. You know, I'm so happy that Somi could move into America when it was solidified and had the time that it had growing. I'm so happy that Halcyon came when it came, because, you know, everything is just literally boom, it's aligned, you know.
Everything.
Whenever, if you hold on to the fact that whenever you wake up is your morning, you will know that there's nothing like too late or too early. You just come at the right time. Yeah, it's all at the right time.
That's so good. So what do you know, as you're continuing building like your legacy, what is that thing that you want? Like, what do you want Elijah to see when he sees his mom?
Beautiful question. So my story is one of resilience, you know, and I think that I'm a very resilient person. And life will come with challenges. Like I just there's no two ways about it. I don't even wish for a challenge-less life for Elijah. You know, I want him to build up resilience, you know, and so I want him to see, I want to be the first example of resilience for him. I want him to know that there's nothing that you cannot overcome. I want him to know that he can build the life that he wants with the help of God, that is his father, that has ordained these things anyway. But obviously God is not going to just do it for you. He wants you to work. He wants you to put in the work as he's oiling the engines and orchestrating everything in the background. So I hope Elijah is able to know that, you know, with hard work, with God by your side, with discipline, with a can-do attitude, there is nothing that you cannot achieve.
That's good.
You know, and I want to be the example of that, as well as his daddy, obviously.
Of course. And so, like, when you think about Elijah, you know, we're kind of not going off tangent, because I still think this transition is like mommyhood. You know, is he like a firecracker like you?
Oh, yes. He has my personality, but he looks like his dad. He has my personality, guys. So he is so bubbly, so friendly. Got an attitude. He has, oh my God, he has so much attitude, but he's so full of love. And, you know, I picked him up from daycare yesterday and they were like, he's always hugging, he's always giving hugs, and he's always saying, I love you. You know, and I'm like, I have to actually work on stranger danger.
Yes, like a little bit, just have a little bit.
Guys, he hugs strangers.
Yeah, just a little bit.
He hugs strangers. So I'm just like, look, you cannot hug everybody.
Like, just a little bit. Yeah.
But he's a beautiful soul. And you know, even Nigeria, that we just came back from Nigeria, people miss him. Like literally my friends' kids are like, you know, we miss Elijah. And his godmother would be like, my kids love kids, but they don't be saying they miss anyone.
Not like that.
But like they love Elijah. And I know everybody thinks their kids are special, but Elijah is a special child.
Yeah,
he's special.
He is special, absolutely. And so, you know, what do you feel like is next for you? So like, Halcyon is new, right?
Yeah, it's new. I'm getting my feet wet.
Yeah. And so obviously that's going to be something you grab and you run full force with it. Somi's here. I'm sure you have other things in the work. What for you as a wife, a mom, a business entrepreneur, what do you see for yourself in 2025?
Well, you know, we want more kids. So, you know, we will keep working towards that.
Okay, praise God.
And God will make it happen.
Amen.
You know, Elijah needs siblings. Siblings.
So I was going to say, I literally was about to say that.
He needs siblings. From my lips to God's ears.
Amen. So you want multiple. Okay. From your lips to God's ears.
You guys will pray over it.
Amen. Oh, yes. So shall it be.
But what I realized as well, guys, is like, you know, 2020, you know, I moved here. 2021, I got pregnant. 2022, I had the baby. 2023, what happened in 2023? It was a rough year. It was a rough year because of the dollar rate, by the way. You know, because obviously before this year, all my work was in Nigeria. But let me answer your question, which is, what do I want for myself? I want stability. And And I also want to embed myself in the DMV. And I went through all those years to say that I feel like I've been here, but I've not really been here.
Got you.
So I feel like I was here, but I was in Nigeria. So I haven't immersed myself here, and I have so much to give. I'm a big personality. I have knowledge, I also want knowledge to be brought back to me, and I want to build community. And, I reached out to you guys because remember I said,
like when I
reached out to them, guys.
I was
famsing them.
No,
you were not. But when I say it was so organic, it was just like it was so casual, and it's like it wasn't a message that like for PR or anything. It was just like, hey, I really love your podcast, something, and from there, it was like, let's chat.
We got in a call.
Literally. And so
they came and already. They support you guys. Supported me, And as much as you guys were like, thank you, I'm like, thank you, because your segment during the Share Radiance event was amazing, so beautiful, and they came professionals, badass, beautiful.
Come on,
I was so proud. I said, see my girls, beautiful. So I want to continue to build community.
Yes,
I want to feel like I'm here,
that
so that I'm not like living in two worlds and two different time zones. I want to stop waking up at 3 because I usually wake up at 3 a.m. because Nigeria, so once I'm here, I can build here because I can build everywhere.
Right.
So I just need to let go and, say I'm here and build. The other thing that I really want to do eventually, once I've now embedded myself here, is cross borders, because once I have Nigeria, which I have, I don't quite have America, and I'm working on doing that. I can actually do that transfer, where everybody back home can actually benefit from the things that I've learned and the knowledge that we have here and the way that they do things here. One of the things I'll just give you guys is like Fashion Week. I find that a lot of Black Americans, even not just Black Americans, Africans go to Nigeria for Fashion Week, but nobody's actually giving them an experience. So I want to be like the bridge. Where SoMe can come in and actually curate their experience. From when they land, they get protocol, because these guys get to the airport and that just frazzle. They're just like, they don't even know
there's
what
one
to
thing about
airports. There you go.
Muhammad airports.
And so they're guys big. If you see the big influencers that went last year, like Tanisha, did you see her? Guys, it was a mess for her.
Really?
I mean, I've done interviews with other creators. And she was like going to these fashion shows on time. You don't go. Nobody was telling her. That's what she was like, it's 5 o'clock. I'm here. And like, Chi, the real Chi on Instagram. She's like, girl, I'm getting my hair done. Like, you don't go. Like, it won't start till 9. But the nuances.
Yes.
So somebody needs to
be there, be a
coach.
bridge. Yes.
So I'm hoping.
Me too. I love fashion.
Us too.
You guys will be. Marriage Pinnacle will be there.
Of course now. Wow. Okay. So that's business. What about marriage and family? Well, you kind of talk about family.
Yeah.
What about marriage? So you and Tulsi?
So I feel like because we spent so much money on being parents, we haven't really celebrated each other enough. We're 10 years this year, guys.
This year, 10 years. When's your anniversary? December?
It's December.
Yes. You're not going to Nigeria, right? You're going to do something else.
I won't go to Nigeria. I won't go to Nigeria, but what I would love a like vow renewal. It's 10 years.
10 years is a big deal.
Big deal.
People don't make 2. People don't make 5.
Nah,
let
10
alone
years is a
10.
big
So
deal.
like
It's a big deal.
Yeah, so I just feel like probably not this year,
Yes, of
but
course.
maybe next year early I'll get snatched for it.
Come on now. I know that's right.
I want to plan a little something. I also didn't have the wedding of my dreams, is the truth. So I want it to be, it's not about like it being over the top, but
just yours.
meaningful.
Something
And that I curated and I'm not scared, because even for my wedding, I was like, but this time, I mean, there's experience. And it's not going anywhere.
You're going to not add your grown woman swag.
I love that. Grown woman swag.
That's right.
That's the plan.
Hey, I love that. 10 years. Yes. God will
That's amazing.
keep it in
Congratulations.
Amen. Thank you.
That is double digits. That's that. So ours was 10 was in July. Our 10 year was July.
Did we do anything?
It's been a crazy year. So we're hoping to hopefully celebrate this year. But I'm telling you, like, you hit 10, you're just like, okay. Like all of the sweating and the
It was worth it.
It was worth it.
He's my friend.
Yeah.
Like, we're friends. Like, one of the good things about all the challenges we have is, guys, we are great partners. Especially with Elijah.
Yeah.
And so like there's no argument on where our roles are and what our focus is. And we do everything for the good of our little one. Right. And I love that, because I also know how it can be horrible if you guys are not aligned. And I want to
talk about that all the time.
I told you guys we started with the background of my parents. So I'm so intentional about our marriage also because of our little one.
Yeah. I was just talking about that with my husband yesterday, and just how like now we see a lot of like single parent homes, and it's almost like normalized.
It is
and
normalized.
And that's so much of our mission. It's just that we used to always say, like, you strengthen marriages, you strengthen families, you strengthen your community.
Absolutely.
Right? Like communities, healthy, strong communities are built on families.
Absolutely.
Families
Values.
Built on having 2-parent homes. And it's like you hear so much of the marriage discourse, and marriage is this and marriage is hard, but it's like at the end of the day, marriage is a purpose. Like marriage is there for a reason.
That's it.
You're meant to be a foundation where you're building generations upon this thing. So it's like, you gotta fight for that.
You gotta fight for it.
Because it's like your generations depend on it.
And understand that the force wants you, the evil forces wants it to break down. And I want to say something, just because something you just said there was powerful. If you don't have a purpose for your marriage, forget it. And
purpose
so the
purpose,
absolutely, you have to have a purpose. And so what is the purpose?
What are you guys trying to do?
Yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. And I think that that goes back to the beginning, right? Like even going back to you saying like oil and gas versus toasting, right? Like if you wanted the glitz and glamour, sure, right? Yeah, sure. That'd be great. Yeah. I have my own, but sure. Great. But here we are, like I see these values that I want, that I aspire, that I desire. He's the person that's aligning with me.
That's it.
And from there, I know this is the type of life that we can have. Now, is that without its bumps and challenges and things like that? No, right? Yeah. But at the foundation,
there is that.
This is here.
And guess what? When the bumps come, that those foundations will hold you together. It's the glue.
Yeah.
When they talk about building something on solid foundation, on like solid rock,
on a solid rock,
and not sand.
On not sand.
That's it. Not quicksand.
Because that's what the push to start is. That's it.
So when everything goes like this,
turn the key.
You'll be back. That's it. When everything starts going, that foundation will hold you again. Then you go, okay, what was the purpose of this marriage? Okay, that's why we're together. Okay, let's work. Let's rebuild. Let's rebuild.
And there's something you even said before, and I know it, like you said it a while ago, but I kept on holding on to it. You said that your friend is the one who held the mirror up to you, right? Because typically in marriage, they say, typically your mentor, you say like, typically they're like, oh yeah, marriage is that mirror that you hold up. It's usually your marriage, right? But it's so amazing and such a blessing that you have community and people who do that for you, because in the marriage where you couldn't see the mirror, you had somebody to hold the mirror up for you, which allows you to see, okay, there are some areas I probably need to work on.
That's it.
And if you did not have that, you would just be like, I'm God's gift to this earth.
That is it.
To this man.
Yes.
He should be blessed.
That's it.
He is blessed.
That is it.
And go about your day.
I was already, because he would go out, guys, and they would recognize him.
Oh, you're Liz's husband.
Yeah. They would recognize him, so I was already feeling myself a little bit too much.
Like,
you married me.
You married me.
You
leveled up.
Honestly, but like, girl, just
look
bring it down.
Look at the mirror.
Just bring it down.
Bring it down. So yes, I feel like that's so good, and I love that because, and I feel like that is a gem as well, right? That like, it's okay. Like, yes, you can have community that holds up the mirror, and having wise counsel is so imperative in this marriage journey. At 10 years, at 12, 13 years, at 11 years, it is important. It does not matter what stage you are, that you have people who want to see your marriage thrive. And so they're willing to tell you, girl, it's actually
that's
you.
It. That's it.
Because we have friends that will be like, yes, friends that'll be like,
that's it.
Girl, do whatever you want. You are God's gift. But telling you that, like, no, girl, if you really want this marriage to work,
you also have to adjust a bit. And she literally was like, Liz, no, he's not jealous of you. I will never forget, because I had already told myself this story, and I'm like, he's not happy for me. I'll tell you this quick story. We went to this thing, another influencer event, where it was like giving 100 top Nigerians some sort of award. I was one of the 100 Nigerians, and he came to support me. And one of some acquaintances called him Mr. Liz.
Yikes.
Very, very rude. But do you know that I didn't like it, but I also didn't nip it in the bud.
Yeah,
I didn't even correct that person. You know, so we had a huge argument when we went home because he was like, but how are you painting me at this point? And I wasn't painting him anyhow. I think that person is just a stupid person because, you know, clearly. You could have just said, you know, what's your name?
Yeah.
That's the thing we're talking about our society where instead of saying, just
like,
you know,
just throwing this point, now I have to go home and deal with that stuff.
Deal with that.
I'm dumb and now I got to do it.
Honestly, you know.
Come on, man.
You know, so, and it happened so quickly. When I got home, I was like, I should have said this. I should have told her, are you silly? I should
that's something that I would miss too.
You know, but
don't do that.
Don't do that.
I would miss it.
You know, I'd be like,
I would miss it too. Like, I would catch it, but I would miss it.
You would have.
She would catch it.
Yeah.
She's very
don't
like
ever
fast.
play.
I'm not. I'm like you. I would have been like, wait, what?
So it happened very quickly because I was like, wait, what? And then she was like, yeah, all right, bye. The guy,
low-key. Hey, babes.
Come on,
let's rewind. What do you
I
mean?
can laugh about it now because we've talked about it. But at the time, guys, these things were like,
not a laughing matter.
You know, but you know, shout outs to Mr. Osho, man. Shout outs to our husband because he's been through too much. You know, he will come by then. He's now he has learned. He has life lessons. He can teach. He can teach.
I've been here.
Yeah,
I've been here. Is it long distance?
Honestly, is it infertility?
Is it fertility?
You know, is it a crazy wife that is all over social media? Today when he went to drop Elijah, because obviously I've been at Halcyon, so he's the one doing the school runs, and my mom came, God bless her as well. You know, they're like, oh, we saw your Christmas holidays, you know, because they follow me. His teacher, that would have been a problem like 10 years ago, but 10 years have gone back. He knows that this is what it is. So he's like, they know everything. You know, he was like, they, you know, Elijah has fans. You and Elijah now have fans. You know, and it's not a problem. He even dances like in the videos himself.
Oh, now.
I love it.
That's growth.
Come on, that's growth.
It is.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up, what do you, and you've already said some gems, like, and I'm so happy because typically we try to do it at the end, but you were kind of giving it in the moment. What would you tell a young woman, a young man out there who just is maybe tired of transitions, tired of all of, like, I just want soft guy, easy going, soft girl life. I just want some stability. What would you tell that person, this person listening?
Okay, so meaning they're not married yet.
They might not be married, or they might be going through a different transition, or going from married to not married to married, or whatever. Yeah. Just some transition.
I think that a good one that we can just hold on to as the full circle of this conversation is that mirror thing. And I find that oftentimes we want something in someone else that we are not even. You know, and it's that question of, you know, you want somebody that's soft, you want somebody that's this, and that should be doted. Are you all those things? And one thing that I found out in life generally is that if you want someone to act a certain way towards you, you start acting that way, you know? And so if you're able to put a mirror, it doesn't have to be like me where a mentor use this conversation to say, let me put a mirror. Okay, so am I showing up as this and this and this, all these things that I want, you know? I remember when I really wanted, my husband's quite soft, so not soft in a saucy way, but like he's a gentle person. He's gentle, but he started being hard. And why? Because he had a hard wife. And so I had to start being gentle again. And from the time I started being gentle, his like, gentleness came back. You know, because he's matching me. You know?
And it's a defense mechanism, right?
It is. You have to protect yourself, right? If I'm soft and I feel like I'm getting all the blows, like, all right, I need to toughen up.
That is it, you know? And it took a while. I mean, that's even another story, subtext. But basically, the thing here is whatever you want, you also put that out. Whatever it is that you want, put that out. And also, even apart from that, you know, with all of this, every aspect of your life, the universe will give you, God will give you what you put out. It's that's it.
It is.
That's
it's a thing. It's a thing. And I think, you know, one thing that you also said, you said earlier on, or just even from you being you, I feel like it's never too late to start.
Absolutely.
It's never too late to forge your own path. Like,
Absolutely.
It does not matter. Like, even this Halcyon, like, you know, we were joking with Liz before the episode that, like, we saw this in your bio. We wasn't sure.
Like, where did it come from? It's a new thing.
Like, it's new. And I'm just like, I love that. Like, at any stage, you can redefine yourself. At any stage, you can say, you know what? I feel like left is the way to go this time. And that's what I'm going to do.
And guys, guess what? Because of society and because of the way we are as a people, I find that people aren't really living their true authentic self. You know, we are constantly watching, what will people say? I don't watch what people will say because people are not paying my bills. People are not sleeping with me at night. People do not live my life. So, you know, I do what suits me. I do what makes me happy, you know, and it's not even about just starting again. It's also reinventing yourself. Guys, I am the queen of reinvention. Come on now. I will wake up and decide that this way I'm going this way.
And
that's what it is. And that's you know, and there's nothing anyone can do about that. And I'll reintroduce myself over and over again.
I love it. I love that.
You know?
I love that boldness. That was something that myself and Memmy talked about this year, is just this act of being bold. And if that requires reinventing yourself, why not?
That is it. That is it. That is it.
And that was a lot of my journey last year, was just, I said, this year, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. Like, anything that I feel I want to do, I'm just going to do it.
Do you know another thing, guys? We get stuck with the labels people have put on us.
Come on now.
Like, you know, Lara is the therapist. So Lara cannot just shift or let me stick to my therapist name. No, who said that?
Nobody. Literally nobody. Literally nobody.
Like the therapist that also has a podcast.
Correct.
Like the therapist that also decided to act. Like the
I almost got her to play last year. I almost got her to play last year.
I used to do plays.
That's what I'm saying. Why can't you?
Why can't I?
Like, you just don't have to be one thing.
You don't.
Like, I did costume design for a play. For the play I was trying to get her.
There you go.
I did a whole, and it was like, why? My friend was
like, are you in that?
I do bridal styling on the side, but it's like costume design was like totally random. But I loved it. I had a great time.
There you go. And you can introduce yourself as that. By the way, I also do this.
And I mean, if people say it's like, oh, you're doing so many things, you need to focus.
Okay.
Like, I don't want to. I like it. I like having multiple things going on. I like staying interested. I get bored very fast. So I like that. I like being able to switch and change. Even with Marriage Pinnacle. Like, we have so many, like, there's this tree picture we always pick up that has like 13
different arms of different things
that we want to do with Marriage Pinnacle. But I love that. Like, we can always switch.
But isn't that the beauty of life? There's 13 different ways, and that you can just choose one that aligns the most at that time. And when it doesn't align anymore, you say, okay,
to switch. And you're able to do that.
I love it. This is for us.
This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you, Liz.
Liz, where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram at the Elizabeth _, LinkedIn, your usuals, YouTube. Not TikTok anymore, unfortunately. They're getting rid of TikTok.
But
bye.
Hopefully
but I'm
we'll
on
link
Instagram.
all of your stuff below. And then also the book, because I'm surprised you didn't bring it.
It's on Amazon. I should have.
We'll link that below as well. But Liz, it's been such a great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
We want you to like, comment, and subscribe. And, tune in, because, again, we're doing this all the time. This is something that we're really passionate about, is bringing women. I knew it. Bringing women who, and not even women, just women and men who represent our brand well, but then also have a story to tell. So we want to thank you again for joining us for an episode of Chat.
Thank you to all of you as well, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.